Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Yashomati Nandana Brajabaro Nagara. Yashomati Nandana Brajabaro Nagara. Gokula Ranjana Kana. Gokula Ranjana Kana. Gopi Purana Dhana Madana Manohara. Gopi Purana Dhana Madana Manohara. Kaliya Damana Vidhana. Kaliya Damana Vidhana. Abala Harinam Amiya Vilasa. Amala Harinam Amiya Vilasa. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Trinadapi Sunichena Toradeva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyata. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, in our last class, we studied the first half of chapter 6. We learned all about the mind, how controlling the mind is the central point of all the yoga systems. There are various yoga systems: Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Raja Yoga, Kriya Yoga, and ultimately Bhakti Yoga. But no matter which yoga you follow, they all have this common first principle: you must get the mind under control. And we heard Krishna's summary of the actual yoga system, not what is being taught here in America in all their various yoga clubs. They're not teaching the real yoga that Krishna explains in this 6th chapter. So now, this next section, verses 33 through 36, I have entitled The Nasty Mind and Arjuna's Rejection of the Yoga System. Arjuna uvacha yo yam yogastvaya prokta samyena madhusudana etasyahang napasyami chanchalatvat sthiting stiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Chanchalang hi manak Krishna pramathi balavadridam tasyahang nigrahang manye vayor iva suduskaram. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So, first point, Madhusudana, yet another name of Krishna. At the dawn of creation, Lord Brahma was attacked by 2 demons, Madhu and Kaitaba. And Krishna delivered Lord Brahma by appearing in the form of Hayagriva, the golden incarnation with the head of a horse and the body of a man. So therefore Krishna is called Madhusudan, the enemy, the killer of the demon Madhu. So look what Arjuna is saying. After hearing Krishna's summary, he says it's impractical and unendurable. Prabhupada, in his purports to these verses, says, if someone like Arjuna, so highly qualified, rejected the yoga system, what to speak of us? That's why Prabhupada points out, Krishna, in his form of Lord Chaitanya, gave the yoga system for the age of Kali. This yoga system that Krishna outlined is not for Kali Yuga. It is not the recommended process. The recommended process is Sankirtan Yoga, hearing and chanting about Krishna. That's the recommended yoga for Kali Yuga. We're not qualified to do this kind of yoga. Maybe some 1 or 2 rare individuals to do it properly. The yoga system for the age of Kali is Sankirtan, hearing and chanting about Krishna. Now, Arjuna's analysis is spot on. We all understand how the mind is restless. You're trying to chant japa, what happens? Zhoop, the mind goes 10,000 miles. Turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. To subdue it more difficult than controlling the wind. Now let us see how Krishna responds to Arjuna's objections. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asangshayang Mahabaho Manordir Nigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena Chagrihate. Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So Krishna agrees that it is difficult, but he's not letting Arjuna off the hook. He says, yes, there's a suitable practice and detachment. Detachment, as I've tried to explain many times, for us, what does detachment mean? It means to become gradually disinterested in sense gratification. That's one side of detachment. And the other side is to become more attached to spiritual, Krishna conscious activities. Now, as I've already mentioned, the suitable practice, again, I will always emphasize, as I have emphasized since the beginning of my preaching, the suitable practice, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. That's the suitable practice. Lord Chaitanya came specifically to introduce this chanting as the feasible means of salvation in the age of Kali. There's no qualification, no disqualification. Everyone, if you've got a tongue, you can chant. If you have 2 ears, you can chant. That's all that's required. Problem is, we're lazy. That's our problem. Just like Arjuna says here, right? This is our problem. We become restless, turbulent, obstinate. Yes, that's what happens to all of us. So we have to control the mind. Lord Chaitanya's first instruction, Chaito Darpana Marjanam. Cleanse the heart, cleanse the mind, cleanse the consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is what is recommended in Kali Yuga. As I began the class, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. 3 times, Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva. Why does that verse 3 times say Nasti Eva? Because not by karma, not by yoga, and not by jnana. Not by fruitive work, not by this hatha yoga system, and not by mental speculation will you achieve liberation. Hare Nama. Only by this Hare Nama. That is what the Shastras say. Krishna continues. Asangyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me mati vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo vaptum upayataha. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But one whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. I don't know about you, but I have full faith in Krishna's opinion. If Krishna says something, you can take it to the bank. Why? Because Krishna is the last word in the absolute truth. So, unbridled. In the Vedas, there is an analogy that the person is sitting on a chariot with 6 wild horses, or 5 wild horses, the senses of the 5 wild horses. The reins which are used to control the horse is the mind. And how do you control the mind? By intelligence. And where does intelligence comes from? It comes from Krishna in the heart. It comes from your spiritual master, and it comes from the Vedic literatures. That's where you get your intelligence from. So with your intelligence, you are supposed to control your mind. And once again, the easiest, simplest process to control the mind is to loudly chant the Maha Mantra. Now we get to the next section entitled, What Becomes of the Fallen Yogi? Arjuna Uvacha Ayati Shrdayo Peto Yogach Chalata Manasa Aprapya Yoga Sangsiddhing Kangating Krishna Gachati. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who, in the beginning, takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? So right here answers question. What is that question? Why does somebody fall down? Why does somebody go away? Right here, it's only because one becomes again attracted to the material world. And that is Maya's business. Maya's business is to constantly divert you, attract you. That's her business, sent by Krishna. Krishna wants to see how sincere and serious you are. And Maya is always there, alluring you, distracting you, diverting your attention. It's only because of worldly mindedness that one gives up yoga. That is the only reason. So our business is to remain fixed in the process of hearing and chanting. That's our goal, to remain fixed every day without fail, hearing and chanting. You know, most religions, they tell the people, you can do whatever you want, but on Sunday come to church or temple, whatever. But that's not Krishna consciousness, one day a week. No, it should be every day. Some portion of every day should be dedicated to practicing Sankirtan, hearing and chanting. And the only reason we give it up is we find something in the material world which we think is more important. That's called Maya. Maya, if you want a good definition of Maya, something which distracts you from spending more time with Krishna. Over the years, people from all over the world have written me, Prabhuji, I am about to make this decision. What do you think? And I always answer the same way. Whatever decision you are going to make in your life, is it going to give you more facility for hearing and chanting, or is it going to give you less facility? Me, I don't want to brag, I have unlimited facility for hearing and chanting. My wife gave me that in 2007. She said, I just want you to preach. I have the best wife in the whole world. I have unlimited, I can do as much hearing and chanting as I want. So, don't get sidetracked by worldly mindedness. Stay fixed in this process of self-realization. Arjuna continues, Kachinno bhaya vibrashtas chinabram ivanashyati apratishno mahabaho vimudo brahmanapati. Almighty armed Krishna, does not such a man, who is bewildered from the path of transcendence, fall away from both spiritual and material success? and thus perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? Etan me sangshayang Krishna chetum arhasya sheshata tvad anya sangshayasya cheta nahi upapadyate. This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. So I like this about Arjuna. Arjuna is convinced nobody can solve his doubts other than Krishna. That is a good place to be. That when I have a problem, when I am in between a rock and a hard place, when my back is against the wall, who do I turn to? I should turn to Krishna. You all know people. On Monday, they worship this demigod, and then when they don't get what they want on Tuesday, they worship somebody else. And then when they don't get what they want, then they keep going on until they find the right stock. They think that worshiping God is like the stock market. Find the one that stock is. That's not devotion. That's business. The devotee of Krishna, his only concern is, when I have a problem, Krishna. You know from reading Mahabharata, the Pandavas so many times were in trouble. Who came every time to deliver them? Krishna. Especially Draupadi. That crucial moment when she is being disrobed in the assembly. She realizes nothing she can do. She throws up both of her arms. Hey Krishna, hey Govind, you deliver me. And Krishna delivered her. So the pure, and I have read Krishna books so many times. The residents of Vrindavan, as soon as there's any problem, hey Krishna. Every incident in Vrindavan, whenever there was a problem, they simply went to Krishna. When Indra tried to destroy Vrindavan, who were the first to surrender to Krishna? The cows. They were the first. They went to Krishna for shelter. Then the residents of Vrindavan came and surrendered to Krishna. And of course, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill to protect them. Krishna, we will learn later on in chapter 9, Name Bhakta Pranasyati. He will tell Arjuna, you declare it, my devotee is never vanquished. But you have to become that level of devotee, like Prahlad. Same, another good example. Whenever Prahlad was in trouble from his father being tortured, he simply remembered Krishna. That is the mark of a pure devotee. So, Arjuna here says, there's no one else who can destroy my doubt. That's a good example to follow. Whenever there's a problem, consult Bhagavad Gita. Now Krishna, for the rest of the chapter, will answer these questions of Arjuna. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Parthanaiveha Namutra Vinashastasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krit Kaschid Durgating Tata Gachati. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. In the purport to this verse, Prabhupada points out something that was mentioned earlier in chapter 2, that even a little bit of advancement can save you from the greatest danger. The greatest danger is going back down into the lower evolutionary cycle of animals and less than that. But a devotee is protected. Yesterday, I was giving a class at someone's house about the glories of Lord Jagannath. You do your Jagannath Rath Yatra. And I read that yesterday, that Jagannath is so merciful that anyone who even just sees him gets delivered. Just so, keep doing Rath Yatra. You are delivering so many sinful people. If they see Jagannath on that Rath Yatra cart, they are delivered. You are most merciful. Jagannath is extremely merciful. So you get the credit. You become glorious by doing Rath Yatra year after year. You're delivering countless living entities when they see Jagannath on the cart. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So do good. Stay a devotee. Render service. Do your food for life. Do your Rath Yatra. Attend this weekly class and stay good. Krishna continues, Prapya punya kritang lokan ushitva shasvati sama shuchinang srimatang gehe yoga brashto bijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is then born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. So just for attempting Krishna consciousness, worst case scenario, next life, you're going to heaven. Wow. Just for attempting. But the problem is, as we will learn in chapter 9, you cannot stay in heaven forever. It's like going on a vacation. At some point, you have to come back to Cologne. So you get to go to heaven for some time, but then you're going to take birth again as a human being. Two outcomes. You are born in a pious, religious family or into a very rich aristocratic family. Why? Why does Krishna arrange it like that? So that in these two scenarios, you will have some opportunity to pick up from where you left off. That's why he arranges it. He gives you these two births, one of the two, so that there will be some opportunity at some point and you will have the opportunity to pick up. But free will is there. Krishna, as we say in America, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make the horse drink. So Krishna will lead you and give you every opportunity, but you have to take it. In this life, you have taken it. I have taken it. Now, take it and go with it. Let's continue. Atava yoginam eva kule bhavati di matam etadhi durlabhatarang loke janma yad idrisham. Or, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, one takes birth in a family of transcendentalists. So, being a pious family, being an aristocratic family, is not as advantageous as a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. Tatratang buddhisang yogam labate pauravadehakam yatate chattato bhuya sangsidao kurunandana. See, here is what I was mentioning. On taking such a birth, one revives the divine consciousness of one's previous life and again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. So this is the advantageous. You will get your opportunity, and then you will revive the divine consciousness in order to achieve complete success. Purvyabhasena tenaiva hriyate hyavasho pisa jigyasur apiyogasya shabda brahmarti vartate. By virtue of the divine consciousness of one's previous life, one automatically becomes attracted to the yoga principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. So the ritualistic principles of the scriptures, that is for the ordinary person just to make them pious. But somebody who is picking up their spiritual progress from before is not going to be interested in simply rules and regulations how to be pious. They're going to search out these higher principles that have been discussed by us in this Bhagavad Gita. Because this Bhagavad Gita is the beginning of transcendental knowledge. Ritualistic principles are on this platform, material platform. But Bhagavad Gita is on a higher platform. You may not remember, but in chapter 2, Krishna used this phrase that Arjuna, you should transcend the Vedas. Why? Because the Vedas mainly deal with these ritualistic principles just to make one pious. But Arjuna was told by Krishna in chapter 2, transcend it. So that transcendental position is what is being taught in Bhagavad Gita. It supersedes these rules and regulations and rituals that Hindu people are so very fond of. You will become attracted to the higher principles: hearing, chanting, remembering, praying, worshiping Krishna. You have already graduated. When you first start arithmetic, you start off with simple arithmetic, then you go higher to algebra, then geometry, trigonometry, calculus, and I'm sure now they have so many more higher advanced mathematics. So Bhagavad Gita is calculus level. It's high grade principles, high grade. And Bhagavatam is super calculus. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is above that. So there's different levels of the study of religion. We are here in Bhagavad Gita. This is very high level. Let's continue. Prayatna yatamanastu yogi sangshuddha kalvisha aneka janma sangsiddhas tato yati parangatim. And when the yogi engages with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, one attains the supreme goal. So that supreme goal has been mentioned several times already in the previous 6 chapters. That supreme goal is to achieve the planet of Krishna, Goloka Vrindavan. That's the supreme goal. So, as it says here, after many, many births of practice. But don't misunderstand. That is up to you how long you want to make it. It's not up to Krishna. It's up to you. How serious do you want to be? How sincere? The favorite example, Maharaj Katvanga. Maharaj Katvanga was an earthly king, and Kartikeya, Skanda, he engaged this devotee king to fight on behalf of the demigods. So after the battle was won, the demigods headed by Kartikeya went to that king and said, "You have fought very valiantly on our behalf. We want to give you a benediction. What do you want?" Now you can imagine, the demigods are capable of giving fantastic benedictions. And he could have asked for so many things. But what did he say? Maharaj Katvanga said, "Can you tell me how much longer life I have in this body?" And Kartikeya said, "You have only 1 moment more." And what did he do? He immediately, completely surrendered to Krishna. And what happened? He went back to Godhead. Even though he had 1 moment left, he fully surrendered. So it's up to me and you how long we want to loiter in this material world. Prabhupada used to tell us all the time, don't come back. Finish your business in this lifetime. You all know now, this COVID, how it has made your lives so miserable this 2020 year. You all know it. You want to come back again and experience the next pandemic? No. You want to finish up your business once and for all. Finish it now. How? By sincerely chanting and worshiping Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada guarantees it. Lord Chaitanya guarantees it. If you chant this Maha Mantra sincerely, you will go. Prabhupada used to say, it's written. All of his initiation letters, what does he say? Chant these 16 rounds, follow the 4 principles, not 3.5, not 3, follow all 4. If you do that, in this lifetime, you will go back home, back to Godhead. So, if I don't make it, whose fault is it? It's not your fault if I don't make it. No, it's my fault. I have to become serious. I have to become sincere. And nothing is going to stop me. I have to have that determination that I will do anything to make it back to Krishna. I'll do whatever it takes. If you're drowning, you do whatever it takes to survive. So we have to get to that state where I'm willing to do anything to achieve Krishna in this lifetime. Now we come to the final 2 verses of this chapter. Tapasvibhyo diko yogi Jnanibhyo pi matodika Karmibhyaschadiko yogi Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. A yogi is greater than the ascetic, is greater than the empiricist, and is greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. Because a yogi means one who is connecting with God. So the ascetic, that's the one who performs great penances and austerities, may not necessarily be connecting with Krishna. The empiricist, that's the mental speculator, may not be interested in achieving Krishna. And the fruitive worker, he's interested in sense gratification. But the yogi, that's the one who is connected to Krishna. So therefore, Krishna says he's the best. Final verse of this chapter, which is one of the top 25 verses of Gita. Somebody last week asked me to send them my top 25 verses of Bhagavad Gita. So I think I have 108, but I have highlighted the top 25. Here it is, a verse you might want to memorize since it's so important. Yoginam apisardesham madgatain antar atmana sraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo mata. And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within oneself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So again, this is the second time in this chapter Krishna is giving his personal opinion. So what are the things? Great faith in Krishna. How do you get that faith? Several ways. Associate with somebody who already has that faith in Krishna. That's one way to get it. Another way is to read Bhagavad Gita. The more you read Bhagavad Gita, you will see at the end in chapter 18, Krishna will say at the end, and one who studies this sacred conversation worships me by their intelligence. So when you read Bhagavad Gita, you are actually worshiping Krishna by means of your intelligence. So you will get faith in Krishna by constantly reading Bhagavad Gita. Abiding in Krishna, I already mentioned that. When the residents of Vrindavan are anytime in danger, immediately they take shelter of Krishna. For instance, back in 2010, I got these teeth. You see these teeth I got here? These are all porcelain teeth. For 2009, I had no teeth. Then in 2010, I got these teeth, and first stop I made was Panama. And then I went on to Santiago. And when I got to Santiago, the day before Gaur Purnima, there was terremoto. And it was so powerful, it knocked me off my bed. And I knew what it was. Immediately, I sat down with my back against the wall, and I never chanted as good in that my life as ever. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. I chanted because I thought it was the end. Because the sound of the terremoto was like a train coming through. It sounded like a train was coming. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was freaking out. I chanted hard. And then, throughout the rest of the next couple of days, my nerves were so shot. As soon as there was any sound, Hare Krishna, you would hear, because you would think another aftershock. So, you'd hear a sound, Hare Krishna. My nerves were so shot. I remember that day very quickly. And the person I was living with, the lady of the house, she was in bed. And she was also chanting very heartfelt, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Then, later on, somebody who had been associating with our group there, he was a skeptic. He didn't have much faith in Krishna. But I remember he came to my apartment and he said, Krishna saved us, Krishna saved us. And I was thinking, Jai, he has now seen the light. And that incident changed his whole viewpoint. He used to be a skeptic. But after the earthquake, I remember him calling out, Prabhuji, Krishna saved us, Krishna saved us. So, You have to abide in Krishna. Take shelter of Krishna. Thinking of Krishna within the heart. Here he is. He's right there. He's your dearmost friend. Take shelter of Krishna and render transcendental loving service. Hearing, chanting, remembering, praying, worshiping, offering your food. Thus, in this way, you become intimately united with Krishna. So we have finished 1/3 of Bhagavad Gita. Give yourselves a hand. This is a cause of celebration. I said previously, but I will repeat it over and over. Bhagavad Gita is 18 chapters, and there are 3 sections of 6 chapters each. So the next 6 chapters, 7 through 12, are the most confidential chapters of the Gita. The first 6 and the last 6, Prabhupada says, are protective coverings of the middle 6 chapters. So next week, we will cover the entire 7th chapter. It's only 30 verses, but there's a lot in there. So I am giving you homework assignment. Study chapter 7 for next week, por favor. Study up on it, because the more you read it, the more you become familiar with it, the more you will get out. Okay, let's do Nisringa prayers so that there's no terremoto in Panama. And then we will do questions and answers. As you can see in the chat, if you open the chat, I have put my email there. So if you have questions, you can write me at any time. I'd love to answer questions. Shrilesh has written me several times these months with very nice questions, and I could answer your questions as well. So let's pray to Lord Nisringa. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Klada Dayane. Prahlada Klada Dayane. Hiranya Kashipura Vakshaha. Hiranya Kashipura Vakshaha. Shilat Kankana Kalaye. Shilat Kankana Kalaye. Ito Nrsinga Padato Nrsinga. Ito Nrsinga Padato Nrsinga. Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsinga. Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsinga. Bahi Nrsinga Hridaye Nrsinga. Nasir Nrsinga Hridaye Nrsinga. Nrsinga Madim Sharanam Prapadye. Nrsinga Madim Sharanam Prapadye. Nrsinga Madim Sharanam Prapadye. Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam. Keshavadvita Nara Hari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadvita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadish Jaya Jagadish Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It's called Route 108. Can you hear it? All right. Yeah, this is called Krishna Jazz. If you want to dance, you can dance. Here we go. If you ever want the higher taste, follow my cue, there is no time to waste. Ease your stress with Krishna consciousness. Now it starts out with your japa beads in hand, and in your heart you'll come to understand it's the best Krishna consciousness. Now it's better than karma, jnana or yoga. No satiation like jaga and boga. It's not just for Hindus, Muslims, Christians or Jews. Why is that? Atheists and Buddhists can all become the purest. No other path that is surest. Won't you get hip to this timely tip? When you make that transcendental trip, it's the crest, Krishna consciousness. Now it goes like this, sing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. You get one more shot, come on. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Here we go. Won't you get hip to this timely tip when you make that transcendental trip? Ever fresh Krishna consciousness. My request, Krishna consciousness. Leave the rest, take to Krishna consciousness. Haribol.